Hello, everyone, and welcome back to This Week in Guns, powered by the Second Amendment Foundation and brought to you by Patriot Patch Company, VZ Grips, MAF Corporation, and Primary Arms. The show offers you commentary on the latest firearms industry news, information, and buzz. I'm your host, Matthew Larosiere, and I'm joined by a secret agent rat.
It's me, the secret agent rat. Watch this flip. Whoa, I'm so cool.
That's big. Huge, even.
Huge.
So how's it been?
It's been pretty good. Busy week, and then lots of cool and interesting stuff being shaken up in the gun news law world.
That's true. The gun law news world has been interesting and shaky and vibratory even. And so we'll be covering some of that, including the fact that I have to go to the swamp this week.
The big swamp.
So, yes, that will be one of several things to discuss. But first up, let's talk about it's Primary Arms. Sign up to receive $20 off your next order of $200+. Primary Arms is a sponsor of the Firearms Radio Network. It's a longtime sponsor. And every month, you can go to frn.deal/PA and check out the latest option. This month, you get a free mount with the Primary Arms GLX 1-6 by 24mm first focal place rifle scope with an illuminated ACSS Raptor M6 reticle SKU PA GLX 16X 24F Raptor 556. Use code FRN and get a scope mount with your scrope. That's a deal, if you ask me.
That's true.
They've also got overstock and open box deals. Huge savings. PrimaryArms.com. Go to frn.deal/PA. Oh, wait, actually, no. Hold on. They've got this is something that's interesting. Overstock on the CMMG 22 Volt, $179.99.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Not too bad. Not too bad. So, guys, check them out. All right, first up, California was coat posting pretty hard, weren't they?
Indeed.
So, a lot of you are aware of California's not unsafe handguns roster and the Unsafe Handgun Act. So basically, since 2013, there's been a fixed list of handguns that you could buy in California, and they had to have this whole list of safety features, including microstamping, which does not exist. And not only that, but they would drop guns off of the roster. So, like, the amount of guns you could buy in California was just continuously dwindling. I think it was last year that, like, every HK ever made fell off of the roster in California.
Yeah, because HK wasn't seeing enough guns sold because the state charges these companies money to verify that these guns are okay. Because I know whenever Smith & Wesson did the 2.0 shields, they tried to say the 2.0 shields are just the 1.0 shields, and California said, no, they're not. The slides say 2.0 on them. It's a new gun.
Yep.
Despite the fact that, like, parts are utterly interchangeable. It's just like slightly different ergonomics or whatever.
Right. Because I think it would be that every few years you have to send one in to, like, verify that you haven't changed it.
And I want to say it was like thousands of dollars companies had to pay.
Right.
Like it wasn't just some it wasn't just California covering its own cost. It was California having a money making scheme for you, the gun company, to ascertain your right to sell guns in the state, which is insane.
Right. And once your model drops off, it's not getting back on because it doesn't have microstamping. It's
actually impossible.
Yeah, it's literally impossible. Well, that law is a violation of the Second Amendment, according to a fudge. However, that it is not immediately in effect. Basically, they're giving California 2 weeks to appeal the decision to the en banc Ninth Circuit, which, you know.
There was two really interesting things about this. The first is if you're even like only barely legal savvy, go and read this decision because it's a masterclass. It's a masterclass from this judge and how hard he smacks down the state. Right. I mean, he essentially goes point by point and says, like under the Bruin test, of course, the analogous laws that the state came up with are horrible, not even close. But he essentially correctly identifies this was a de facto ban on handguns. The state of California has their cops use guns that aren't these guns. If cops are using the unsafe handguns, surely you can't say that they're unsafe because you then testify in court that the cops are here to keep you safe, and that's why they have to have the unsafe handguns. It's insane. And the judge essentially smacked him down.
Well, but Attorney General Rob Bonta, he's got a point here. The fact of the matter is, California's gun safety laws save lives, and California's Unsafe Handgun Act is no exception. We will continue to lead efforts to advance and defend California's gun safety laws. As we move forward to determine next steps in this case, Californians should know that this injunction has not gone into effect, and California's important gun safety requirements related to the Unsafe Handgun Act remain in effect. Now, but I do love some of the language from this judge.
The second thing there that I wanted to mention is it plays off of Bonta's language. Notice he didn't say that they're planning to appeal. They have not said they're planning to appeal even yet as of time of our filming, and not a single, and of course these anti-gun AGs are hand in hand with the anti-gun organizations,
right?
But the anti-gun organizations haven't even mentioned that this has happened.
Right.
And now the scheming that I've seen going on is that they themselves are very unsure if it's safe for them to appeal, because there's multiple other cases against the handgun roster that may be coming together. And they probably, if they lose at appeal at the Ninth Circuit, it's devastating for them. And then if it goes up to the Supreme Court, it's really bad for them,
right?
If they lose, at least. And so it may be a tactical decision on their part that at this point it is just an injunction, and it's just against the requirement for guns on the roster to have the 3 parts. The roster itself would still be around. So at least one guy I saw talking about it was saying that gun companies would still have to pay the state a bunch of money and wait for the guns to get approved to be able to sell them there.
Yeah, it would just be that they wouldn't need to have magic in them. Yeah,
they don't have to have the mag disconnect safeties, and then
loaded chamber indicator, mag disconnect, and micro stamping capability,
which is just insane. It doesn't exist. Like it exists theoretically, and the state tries to use the theoretical existence of something in court as a justification, like, oh, it exists. The gun companies just won't put it on. Like, okay, yeah, sure. Like caseless ammunition exists.
Right.
They just won't.
I have a bunch of it. So yeah, Carney, who was appointed by George W. Bush, says no handgun available in the world has all 3 of these features. These regulations are having a devastating impact on California's ability to acquire and use new state-of-the-art handguns. And in fact, so interesting was this, right, that you could still there was a way to get new handguns in California.
Right.
And it was that basically a cop would get it and then sell it in a private deal off roster. And so there were all these cops in California who, again, are allowed to buy unsafe firearms according to California law, which are just the newest guns.
Like SIG 320s were massively popular for this.
Right. And they would buy them oftentimes with like blue line pricing, and then sell them for like 4 or 5 times what they'd pay. So like there was a cottage industries of California cops just like channeling new guns into the marketplace.
If you see somebody in California who's got a 320, you should ask them how much they pay, because $2,500 for a 320 is just like not uncommon at all in California for like the worst possible handgun ever. But it's like it's almost like a status symbol there, because they can't have them unless this very, very limited supply of.
Well, there was also the interesting situation where the firearm was manufactured as a single shot.
Right. Reno May had a good video on that, where people had brought in Gen 4 and Gen 5 Glocks that way, where they bring them in as single shot firearms.
Right.
And then in the state of California, you could modify these guns because you on your own can modify them.
Right.
There's this
was just like a couple months ago, though, where they started like prosecuting the absolute hell out of these cops who were selling the guns.
Right. The cops who were doing large numbers of these, they were like, hey, you're dealing. And then they're also trying to pass legislation now that removes the exemption for that cops have under the unsafe handgun thing. So this would make it impossible for them to get these quote unquote unsafe handguns. And then it was only at that moment that the cops came to their senses and realized, we don't like the roster anymore. Then they were filing amici briefs in these roster cases where they're like, actually, we don't like this roster anymore. It would stop us from buying Gen 5 Glocks.
Yeah, and we like those because we have no taste in firearms. But yeah, no, and I love this. Every time you see a news story in California, you see this same fucking sign, right?
Yes.
This mask laden woman folk. I hope to have as many rights as a gun someday. Well, ma'am, I hope so too. I really wish that for you. I really, really do.
The best I can do from the bottom of my heart is think that you're right.
Yes. Yeah. So this, I don't know. We'll see. Here's hoping. It is an interesting chess move that the anti-gun lizards have been finding themselves in more and more as of late.
It's and like normally they just appeal immediately because they know that the courts are on their side, and then more and more now they're like,
yeah, more and more now they're like staring at the tic-tac-toe board with all of the corners are filled in, going, oh,
this ain't good.
Yeah, I don't know about this.
Maybe we should play checkers instead.
Yeah. Oh, anyway, so yeah, we'll definitely be keeping an eye on that one. Next up. Oh man, this whole, the attorneys general are banding together on the whole credit card reporting requirements thing again. This is a new story on TWIG, which kind of funny. They have New Jersey Assistant Attorneys General were awfully disappointed by the credit card company.
That's actually a picture of them, believe it or not. That's what they all look like.
Nice credit card companies you got there. Be a shame if something was to happen to them. But yeah, so I love the way Dan writes. The civilian disarmament industrial complex isn't taking the news of America's credit card issuing companies pausing their gun transaction tracking efforts very well. They had dreams of regular suspicious activity reports flooded into ATF from Visa, MasterCard, Discover, and Amex, paving the way for eventual de facto registration of all legal gun purchases. And if the processing companies, with some help from gun regulators, could ID suspicious buyers, it's not much of a leap to expect them to one day decline their purchases. But so, yeah, they took, like, the credit card processors took on so much heat, not only from officials, right? Because they usually don't care that much. But it was so unpopular that it was getting to the point that alternatives were going to actually become a thing.
Well, and in Florida passed a law that essentially said credit card companies can't do business in the state if they discriminate against firearms-based businesses.
Right.
And the way that law was actually worded was like, if they flag transactions that are gun-related at all, you can't be doing business in the state. And then Discover's like, actually, you have changed our minds.
Yeah, and Discover goes, wait a minute, Florida's economy is substantial. That's what I've read.
The possible PR blowback of, because the thing that these companies are trying to avoid is, XYZ shooter who did a Las Vegas used this credit card to buy something beforehand, and that looks bad for the companies or whatever. So they want to try and avoid that. And so, at least for now, like, the potential blowback of not being able to do business in all of Florida is much worse for them. So they'll continue to go the avenue that makes them the most money. Maybe the thing that changes it is we end up seeing laws in California, New Jersey, and such that say credit card companies can't. we balkanize the entire banking complex.
If you don't discriminate,
if you don't
it is east versus west. Your Visa is no good here. Oh man,
we don't take Visa bucks.
Yeah. Oh man, that's so funny. Yeah. So when news that the card issuers had decided to halt work on deployment of gun transaction monitoring, the gun control industry collectively lost their shit. Not only were they subjected to the usual and entirely predictable name calling for the usual suspects, but now they're being urged to reconsider, this time by a bunch of blue state anti-gun AGs led by New Jersey's Matthew Platkin.
I don't like him.
Oh my God. Look at this. Look at this. I don't even know what to call this level of stupidness. If you had the chance to prevent a mass shooting, would you? At Amex, at MasterCard, at Discover, and at Visa are saying no. Today, we're urging them to honor their pledge to adopt a new merchant code that would help flag suspicious gun sales and save lives.
And of course, the ultimate irony here being like, they keep saying that there was a story recently in response to this that was Washington Post or whatever astroturfing the complaints that the anti-gunners are having here. Mm-hmm. But it essentially amounted to, mass shooters all have this sort of trend of buying purchases before a mass shooting. And it's like they buy a couple hundred rounds of ammo and a gun. So we should flag everybody who buys a couple hundred rounds of ammo and a gun because clearly they're a bad guy. Yeah, because nobody's ever done that before.
No, that's silly. Don't be
only shooters do that. It's the normal trend. So some people say that they buy gasoline and put it into their car's gasoline tank. That's a warning sign.
That's absurd.
That's a warning sign of a mass Las Vegas guy.
I have never heard of purchasing gasoline, and especially not in the case of a notable Las Vegas. That's good. In other news, so there is a upcoming this week, and a lot of you guys have been wondering why I've been not doing as many videos as I'm supposed to, and the answer is because I'm busy trying to fight for our rights. And, instead of just bloviating with, clickbaity headlines, talking about absolutely nothing. And one of those things that happened was there is going to be a hearing before the Subcommittee on Crime and Federal Government Surveillance, and it is titled ATF's Assault on the Second Amendment. When is enough enough? So I was actually asked to testify. Fascinatingly, through this very show, they reached out through the show where I constantly and incessantly referred to
scaly lizards
as lizards.
Alongside a twitching rat.
Alongside an actual rat.
They watch that. They watch that and go, yeah, that's a good show.
So, but I mean, and I talked to these guys, and they actually kind of knew their stuff. So I will be testifying about the spirit of the law as it relates to SBRs and brace pistols and stuff like that, and basically how completely clown shoes insane the ATF's current actions are, as well as the zero tolerance stuff, which we talked about recently, what the Biden administration is going to be cracking down further on. They wanted to hear about my experience as a legal practitioner actually representing people who have been before these ATF revocation hearings. And so I just submitted my written testimony, and I am getting on a plane to the swamp tomorrow to go and wear the fancy suit and Croatian torture device that they call a necktie. And go do that. So you guys can check that out. That'll be 10 a.m. on the 23rd of the year of our Lord, 2023. So I thought that was kind of cool. You know what else I think is kind of cool?
Guns.
VZGrips.com. VZGrips.com is made in Florida. The G10 alloy, they got a patent on it. You can get all kinds of different things available for the Beretta CZ75 and 92 full-size compact palm swell. You can get the whole grip, or you can get part of it. They do sell grips that are only shorty editions. In addition to such, you can acquire the knife. The knife is made of the G10 alloy as well, and you can get this pencil, which is definitely... Wait, what the heck?
Take it wrong.
There's a way to get the pencil. Yeah, but
you have to send them an email and ask them for the free Jolly Rancher rebate as well as the tactical pencil.
Yes. Well, but check out all their stuff. It's really cool. And if you use the code THISWEEK15, that's THISWEEK15, you will get 15% off your order. People complained recently that the code was not working. I whined and had it fixed. So check them out. VZGrips.com, Florida company, good people. They support the show, and the grips grip good. Hyena brown is the correct color. If you disagree, unsubscribe. So, moving on now, we've got another lizard. Chris Murphy, he's being a Senate lizard again. So there's an implication buried in this Twitter bird post. Let's explore it together. So we have here a graph. The U.S. civilian gun stock has grown significantly. This is from The Trace, where our friend Brendan works, showing the amount of firearms in private hands from 1950 to 2020, showing a substantial increase after 2010, up to over 400 million, which I still insist are rookie numbers. This is barely more than one gun per person. But Chris Murphy asserts that there is no way to address the homicide, suicide, and mass shooting epidemic in this nation without dealing with this massive explosion of guns in the United States. So what is buried in here?
Let's see. Am I missing it? I might be missing it.
He's saying, like, basically suggesting confiscation of some sort.
Oh, I see. So yeah, they want to cut down on the existing proliferation.
Yeah,
I see.
Without dealing with this massive explosion of guns. Well, I'll tell you one way to deal with exploding guns. IO Inc. has already stopped making AKs.
They're done. They're out. They're
out, and they will dwindle in time as their trunnions yield to the ravages of time. But I mean, but there are still Pioneer Arms guns, I guess. Or who else? Who else explodes?
Century had some troubles.
Mm-hmm.
The RAS.
The RAS, yes. So yeah, something has to be done about those exploding AKs, the guns that are ordnance.
That is strange to see. Like, you know, and again, I guess it's because the Second Amendment does get to exist as a second-class right, at least for now, or at least be treated that way. But you imagine a politician saying, "We have to do something about all these authors or all these independent journalists. We have to shut them down." Like, we've seen an explosion of people doing their First Amendments. We have to stop. I mean,
Lincoln said that, and everyone liked him.
He did say that, and he was a really bad guy for it.
It's like, well, hold on, these newspapers are making it harder for me to get elected.
These newspapers are being mean to me. Let's arrest them for nothing.
Let's arrest them for being mean to me. So maybe we can do this. It just depends on, the flavor of the day.
Yeah.
But anyhow, Chris Murphy, obvious lizard, complete clown. So let's move on. So do you remember, was it like a few weeks ago, there was that decision overturning the 922 prohibition on people subject to a domestic violence restraining order?
Yes.
Well, we weren't sure what was going to happen, right? So it was the Fifth Circuit, right, which has been very spicy in the firearms field. And by spicy, I mean doing their jobs as jurists and actually applying precedent. That said, hey, you don't lose your constitutional rights from non-judicial proceedings. It'd be insane for any other right to be treated that way. Like, you lose your right to vote because somebody he said, she saided you. Right. And so again, there was a 3-judge panel on the Fifth Circuit, and this was again one of those tic-tac-toe moves where we thought that the government was going to go, let's leave this alone. Let's just let that sit there. Let's let Texas and Louisiana exist, right? But they filed a petition with the Supreme Court.
This will be really interesting.
I don't see this going well for them.
I feel like Supreme Court denies cert.
But the denial of cert
is something, right? It carries some weight.
Yes.
Because it was decided in the favor of gun rights.
Exactly. Exactly. So there is, I think, the best thing they could possibly hope for, if you're the government, is what's called a GVR, which is a grant, vacate, and review, which is basically the court saying, "Oh, look again," right?
Right.
But I don't think that's what's going to happen here.
Right. GVR in light of what? Right.
Yeah.
I feel like it's pretty well, unless the Supreme Court just lets it sit, because the Supreme Court knows they're going to be reviewing New York's carry ban. because it's the state of New York's, and I guess I'm skipping some of our stories. State of New York's essentially admitted in court they're like disregarding Bruen,
right?
But the Supreme Court knows they're going to be reviewing that, so they may end up clarifying that case and then GVRing the domestic violence one, because it's a hot tamale, because it makes for horrible headlines no matter what. Because like everybody wants to say it's like, oh, it lets domestic violencers get guns, which obviously isn't good, because like people who actually do a domestic violence are bad people. But that's not exactly what this ruling was. This ruling was people who haven't committed a crime don't lose their rights because somebody he said she saided them.
Right. Well, but on top of that, the Fifth Circuit was like, they tried so hard, right, to couch it in terms of, we're not saying that this isn't a good idea. We're saying it's not consistent with Bruen. And it's like, well, it's not a good idea though, right? There's a fundamental due process problem. But the DOJ, I guess they couldn't let this one lie. And I have
to imagine that it's orders from on high, because this fanned up enough flames that it's like they can't. And it was in news and widely publicated. If DOJ doesn't appeal this and take it to whatever end it is, it's going to be it's going to look bad for Biden or whoever ends up carrying the bag from this point forward.
So let's just so you guys know, but the case was U.S. v. Zeki Rahimi. It concerns a man who was the subject of a protective order that banned him from harassing, stalking, or threatening his ex-girlfriend and their child.
He was a real piece of shit, by the way.
He probably was. The order, this guy probably sucks. The order did ban him from having guns. And then in Texas, he was found to have a rifle and a pistol in his house. He was indicted by a federal grand jury and pled guilty. Later on, in light of Bruen, he challenged his indictment, arguing the law preventing him from owning a gun, again, with no due process, right? No actual convictions, was unconstitutional. And I think he's right.
I do agree, although I think he may. Oh, there was somebody who actually had like this guy's rap sheet. It's impressive. And he's been in trouble for hitting women before, but I think he may have had a felony, and so like he's not getting out of that.
Right. Yes, and that's how a lot of these cases go. A lot of these cases go that way. That it's the nature of the charge that was brought. So like these people still wind up rotting, right? But
they were tacking on but you are also in violation of a restraining order. So it's very interesting then to see the court not just like brush it aside and be like, yeah, we're not looking at that.
And it's amazing that prosecutors try to go for this. And it's because they always go for a kitchen sink approach.
Right.
Attorney General Garland. Well, after, of course, losing at the Fifth Circuit, Attorney General Garland promised to seek further review. In the petition for Supreme Court review, the DOJ argues that there is a legal tradition in the U.S. and England of disarming people who have posed a danger to the community or threatened to hurt others. That's not true. What the brief says, in keeping with that history, this court explained in Heller that the right to keep and bear arms belongs only to law-abiding, responsible citizens, which Heller did not say. I
don't think that was ever
not say that. There was almost no operative holdings in Heller whatsoever, and that certainly wasn't one of them. DOJ argued that the federal law in question, which again, this is just restraining orders, no convictions. They argue that it fits squarely within the long-standing tradition of disarming dangerous individuals. And again, long-standing laws, and people get on me when I piss on these laws. Look, I get it. You are not supposed to hit women. You're just generally not supposed to hit people. I think if you hit people, you're bad. However, due process is due before your rights are taken away.
Absolutely.
And the history in this country of disarming individuals were those who had proven themselves to be completely disaffected to the cause of liberty or otherwise guilty of felonies, which at the time, right, There were
like
not
all tantamount to
400,000
killing
of them.
people. Yeah, it was all like tantamount to killing people or stealing something from somebody or enslaving them or whatever.
Well, it's like it's not even just regular old larceny, right? Which was generally a misdemeanor. It was burglary. You know, the type of theft
Right.
that
There has to be some
involves
force.
necessary
Like it
bodily harm.
was all like all of what we call today like forcible felonies was just like that was felonies.
Real
Then
felonies. They're called common law felonies.
Right.
You
Like
know,
the extent
arson,
of felonies was forcible stuff.
mayhem, which is, you know, lopping people's limbs off and things, right? Like that's the type of stuff that they would disarm people for. And even back then, they would often give your gun back the moment, like they would hold your gun for you while you were in jail. Because, you know, there was a presumption that you have served your purpose. And in those jurisdictions where they didn't give them back, if you had proven, you know, that you were a peaceable person and friendly to liberty, you would get your rights back. And that is just not the state of the law today. So I think that the majority of 922 prohibitors are constitutionally suspect. Especially ones that do not involve any adjudication of guilt, which include this one. And then also, I think most problematic is the Lautenberg amendments, which added misdemeanor crimes of domestic violence, which is just wholly inappropriate for any misdemeanor to come with a lifelong civil rights disability. So we'll see what happens there. But what I think is going to happen, you know, here's my, you know, Monday night quarterback, whatever thing. I think this will sit on the list, not get granted until the end of the term, where it's just summarily denied. Summarily denied. That's with no dissental, no opinion. That's what I think will happen.
I think it's either that or whatever they decide to do with New York. They made GVR where it's like, hey, but look at what we did here. And
I don't see it happening. So like, yeah, I don't see it. I don't see that. But hey, stranger things have happened today even. Speaking of today, as you guys are aware, this channel, the Fudbuster Industrial Complex is partnered with Second Amendment Foundation. And I've also recently been appointed adjunct scholar of law and policy at the Second Amendment Foundation, which is a pretty nice little thing that they did. But if you guys are looking for a national gun rights group to support, there's only one that I can recommend, and that is Second Amendment Foundation. For nearly 50 years, the Second Amendment Foundation has been fighting for your Second Amendment rights. Having been involved in over 250 cases and an active litigation load of over 40 lawsuits, that's a big load, SAF has the expertise and experience necessary to fight government overreach and challenge unconstitutional laws. SAF, winning firearms freedoms one lawsuit at a time. To learn more or donate, click the link in the description, and that's bit.ly/SAF Busters. SAF BUSTERS. And check them out. Thank you, SAF, for empowering this content.
Donkey Shine.
Yes,
that's German.
That's German. I hit that in a book once. Do you remember a few weeks ago we talked about that wild case of a 6-year-old student shooting his teacher?
Oh yeah, that was one of the stories of all time.
Well, we got an update. She's spoken out. A Virginia teacher who was shot and wounded by her 6-year-old student said it has changed her life, and she has vivid memories and nightmares about that day. She thought that she had died. I just will never forget the look on his face that he gave me while he pointed the gun directly at me, first grade teacher Abby Zverna said during an exclusive interview with NPC's Savannah Guthrie about the student. It has changed me. It's changed my life. She said she's still in shock and can't make sense of it in a portion of the interview that aired Monday morning. So yeah, this is the first time she's spoken since the January 6th shooting. And it's certainly weird. And the thing that's a little, we don't really know any more about it.
Right.
You know, she said like she'll never forget the look on his face, but then doesn't really describe it. And it's, I mean, I'm sure this is horrible. She's undergone 4 surgeries and has had some days where she can't get out of bed. It's pretty brutal. She was hospitalized for nearly 2 weeks after that shooting. And yeah, she said in the moments after she was shot, the other first grader in her class were screaming. And all she could think of was getting the students out of the classroom, which, the eyewitness reports corroborate. So, yeah.
I know the one interesting, I don't remember if we had worked the update in, but I know that the last thing I had seen is that the school itself had a call come in that said that there was a kid that was in that particular classroom that might have a gun. Like they were let know that this had happened. And I don't know if it was just too close of a warning or there just was no follow-up. They're just like, the kindergartner has a gun. Yeah. So supposedly there was some sort of a call to warn them that this may be happening. And I don't know if they're just like, yeah, sure. Yeah, the kindergartner has a gun. Who is this? But the story only ever gets weirder.
Yep. Yeah, she said the shot went through her left hand, ruptured the middle bone as well as the index finger and the thumb, then went into her chest where it actually still remains. It collapsed her left lung. So yeah, it's pretty brutal. I mean, thank God she's still alive. But I do want to know why. And I know we may never get a motive out of this 6-year-old, but I want it, right? Very badly.
Still, there's more explanation for this one than there is for Las Vegas. So this one adds up more clearly than the other one. So
I mean, that is a point to make. Speaking of other interesting, so we have a Georgia man who he tried to flee a traffic stop and accidentally shot his passenger, which is, a thing that we do.
Understandable. So it happens.
Yeah. A LaGrange man was arrested after he fled a traffic stop and then accidentally shot his passenger when he tried to throw the gun out the window.
Does it tell us what kind of gun?
Let's find out. Carrollton police said an officer spotted a car that was failing to maintain its lane. The officer ran the car's tag and found that the car's owner had an active warrant. When the officer conducted a traffic stop, he noticed the smell of marijuana in the car. The officer thought the driver, Akeem Blue, may have also been drunk. When the officer asked Blue to get out of the car, he sped away instead. Officers chased Blue's car, but the car suddenly stopped. The car's passenger, who had not been identified, told officers he'd been shot when Blue tried to throw a gun out of the window. No, they don't mention anything about the gun. Yeah, Blue was arrested for felony fleeing, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, DUI, reckless conduct, possession of marijuana, failure to maintain lane, and simple battery. I like that they threw in failure to maintain lane there. Jesus. Damn, Blue, they got our boy Blue.
He's gone.
He's done. It's over. Oh man, this thing's gonna be good after we talk about another one of our sponsors. It's MAF Corporation. Ils sont le manufacturier d'armes et carillons de Floride. Nous avons de absolument meilleurs prix dans les composants de toutes des armes à fruits. Nous avons AR-10, AR-19, AR-9. Nous avons des canons, des autres composants comme... et aussitôt, nous avons quelques chemises. C'est un posséder un petit vending machine. Hein? C'est chouette, hein? And if you go there right now, you can use promotional code FRN and get 5% off whatever bullshit you want, okay?
We.
So yeah, go to maf-arms.com. There's all kinds of stuff available for sale. Check it out. There's good prices. Look, here, full-length reloading dies for the 11 by 59 millimeter GRA. You don't get the croissant. Whenever
Every time, whenever you're doing your little bit of hand loading, How many times have you guys been doing your hand loading and you go, I forgot my 11 millimeter GRA reloading dies? It happens to me almost every time. You should pick up an extra set just to be careful.
I love the description for the GRA dies.
The dies themselves are actually incredibly hard to find in stock if you are a person who partakes in the Francophile shooting sports.
Yes. So let me read from the description of the GRA dies. Greetings, my dear customers. I am Dr. Pierre Lagrange, a mad scientist hailing from the swamps of Florida. I have come to you to present to you a most extraordinary invention, GRA dies. What are GRA dies? Well, my dear friends, it is a product that will transport you back in time to the most pivotal moments of French history from 1874 to 1914. With GRA dies, you'll be able to experience the grandeur and glamour of the Belle Epoque, witness the rise of the Eiffel Tower, and even attend the coronation of King Edward VII. That sounds pretty big.
That's a very good value for the amount of dollars that this price costs.
Yeah, be sure your GRA is in good working order before you load for it. After all, they are all certifiably old as shit. That's good. Again, maf-arms.com. Check it out. So Henry, and I apologize for my bad French. I'm tired. Although all French is bad French. Let's be honest.
As opposed to good French?
It's a dead language. Anyone in the comments who's like, oh, your grammar. It's like, go ahead and out yourself, Francophone. Idiot. Why don't you just let me look stupid instead of yourself, too? Look at this thing. The Henry Homesteader 9mm. This was at SHOT Show, and they're like a little story. They're like how they came up with it. It was almost sad, where it was like like one of the engineers was like, he really wants to make a pistol caliber carbine, and they told him no because Henry only makes FUD guns or whatever. And he was like, well, what if I made it look like a FUD gun pistol caliber carbine? And then they let him make it. They let him make it from bedpost to fence post. What's yours remains yours. Oh my god! So yeah, this thing for you audio listeners, it looks like your typical like self-loading 22 FUD gun, right down to the cheap as shit looking squared off handguard with machine checkering, right, and the bogus ass square bottom pistol grip stock. Like it's completely devoid of any life.
Like it looks a lot like a Winchester 63.
Exactly. And so then when they describe it this way, it's described as with the brawn of a workhorse and the beauty of a show pony. The Homesteader delivers versatility like few other firearms can, effortlessly going from bedside protector to varmint patrolling ranch hand and back again at the end of the day. Don't let all that work trick you into thinking it's all business all the time, though, because a trip to the range for some casual plinking will prove that the Homesteader also knows how to have fun.
They literally wrote it in that voice, too.
It's like, just like, and then they just have like just a picture of a coyote.
It's it's not.
It's available in Glock mag, M&P mag, and Sig mag.
And then they have their own proprietary mag that's straight because the pistol caliber, the pistol mags, of course, slant backwards, which looks bad.
Yeah, but the straight one is whatever.
I don't know that the straight one looks a lot better, but it does have interchangeable mag wells, and so I know some of the 3D printing guys are going like, how do we put an Evo mag in it? How do we put an Evo mag?
I don't think they can because these are all single presentation
I don't know
magazines.
if they can. It'll depend, of course, on the bolt geometry, but if you could put an Evo mag in that, I'd kind of like it. I think the
general rule, at least from our experience, right, is that if it can feed from a single presentation magazine, it wants desperately not to feed from a double.
I know there's people who have almost got Mac 11s to want to feed with new double presentation mags, but like it involves ham fisting and printing a lot of custom geometries and everything. So maybe it'll be possible, but like this with MP5 or Evo mags, I don't hate it as much.
It would be it would have been slick if they had did it, but that would have so that would have been cool, especially if they had had to take an MP5 or Evo mag,
or even Uzi mags, right? Just something,
right? Which I love, and then had it side fold or something.
Yeah,
that would be pretty slick. You know, I would totally take it with like a side folding wood stock and you know, the standard handguard and an MP5, like that would be huge.
Or even if they did like a like the Winchester takedown style, where like the stock just like rotates and then can like latch onto the front of the gun, like just like a takedown where the stock comes off rather than
right.
And then of course it's capable of shooting without the stock. Yeah, that'd be something.
Which there's no reason it wouldn't be able to. But
we're just designing Henry's better gun.
Yeah, they had to make the most aggressively uninspired firearm.
Yeah, I was like watching this at SHOT Show. I was like, I mean, I know it'll sell, right? Because Henry could literally make the worst gun ever, and people will buy it. But
well, they have. But it's like, oh wow, the Marlin Camp 9, you did it again. Thanks, Henry.
And these things. I think at SHOT Show they said the MSRP was like 1,600. It was something insane.
What?
It was something insane.
Oh my god.
Let me check. Henry Homesteader MSRP. Okay, $1,000 MSRP. Okay, I must have had that confused with something else. But even at $1,000 for a blowback 9.
Yeah, a blowback 9 with as much inspiration as like my dog's breakfast.
I can compare that to a.
Oh well, no, it does have a threaded barrel.
I compare this to a sub 2000 or even M&P, the Smith & Wesson new foldy gun. Yeah. Like it's not a competition.
No. So yeah, that's the thing. All right. So now we're going to talk about New York's Brew and Response bill, which is a little stupid. Of course,
it was fun.
Mm-hmm. They got slapped a little bit. So this was all of those hearings, right? I think there were like 4 different lawsuits.
4 cases that I think at this point are consolidated.
Right.
They may be. Don't quote me on that. I don't know if that's a fact. But there's currently 4 different big suits that are all tackling different angles of this law. Mm-hmm. And there's like a patchwork of injunctions currently where like different cases have different injunctions against different parts of the law. So it's kind of a mess at this point. And everybody knows what
it's kind of a mess, like Kathy Hochul's
her eyebrows.
Kathy Hochul's post-operative treatment for her like daily plastic surgery.
It's like, this is, everybody knows this is a Supreme Court bound, right?
Right.
And they even said, like, I listened, I was doing stuff and then using this for background noise. So I listened into all of they had their oral bickerings
right
in front of this 3-judge panel, and the 3-judge panel wasn't very gun friendly. So the outlook on this isn't great. But the 3-judge panel, I think, said 2 or 3 times that we all know that the Supreme Court is going to tell us what we do wrong. Like they're so confident in what they're going to come up with that they know that the Supreme Court is going to shout them down anyway. Which is like, our judiciary is not inspiring faith in our judiciary, which is an awesome thing to see.
That's great for him, but like assisting in stability, especially in in the present state of the economy and political climate. But hey, whatever.
It was interesting to hear, and of course, the things that are being challenged is like currently there's a requirement for you to turn over your social media accounts for a social media account review to get a carry permit. Some of the cops who have been
so they can make sure you have good moral character.
Right,
which is not a racial dog whistle.
No, of course.
Yeah,
but one of the police departments that has been implementing this law is asking for your social media passwords. Like they're going to sign in as you and see everything. Like they're checking your DMs, they're checking those group chats, they're checking everything is what they want to be able to check for you to be able to exercise your rights, which is actually insane. And the judges asked some like really, really stupid questions of the pro-gun side here, where they were trying to say that like, why would anybody have a right to privacy? Aren't most social media accounts public anyway? Couldn't I believe I heard couldn't the government request through like some sort of like a subpoena from these social media companies information about your accounts, which is just like insane.
Well,
and the
like,
judges,
if there was a pending legal action, sure.
the judges kept insisting that, because one of the arguments in these cases is that because the state is like currently looking at a 2-year backlog of issuing licenses, that they shouldn't object to you being able to offer your social media accounts, because otherwise the state would have to go and look them up on their own. Like, judges just completely missing the point that checking somebody's social media accounts at all, be it voluntarily or otherwise, the state digging into them on their own, is insane and is not something that your rights should be predicated on.
Right.
So the judges did like a whole bunch of like hanky-panky stupid stuff there. But the one silver lining is at least 2 of the judges were grilling the state on some of these things, where they're like,
Right.
how on earth do you think this will keep people safe? Or the question of like people being able to carry in church, they were saying that, so you're, because the way the law works in New York is that private business owners have to post a sign that says people can carry guns in here. And
Right.
that by default, gun carriage in public is just completely banned, which is, of course, wrong. And that was another one of the things that was debated. And it seemed like at least 2 of the judges seemed like they were,
they had like even like considered the existence of Bruin.
Right. Like they were sort of supportive of the notion that having it be banned by default isn't something the government can do.
Right.
Like, people can say, and they were saying that like this is a part of trespass law or whatever, right? Like, if you don't want people there, you can say so, and the government doesn't need to pass a new law to say that.
Right.
But the case that's representing a pastor was saying that, like, why is the church treated differently? Why can't the church churches can't post a sign that says people are welcome to carry guns in here? It is just flat out banned, and the only people who can have guns in churches are cops and security guards who are licensed with the state, which of course puts a massive financial burden on churches, because like they have to pay somebody who's licensed with the state, which in New York isn't cheap. Yeah. Right. It's like you have to pay a security professional in order to have your church have anyone there capable of defending the church. And so the judges the
law is so ridiculously broad here that they've even got, like, there was this op-ed that I was scrolling through in the New York Daily News, was written by somebody who broadly supports the gun restrictions, but they're saying that the social media element of it,
it's just insane.
Is like completely insane and undermines the good values of the law.
We'll see. Whoa. As much as it sucks for New York people in the short term, especially after what should have been their greatest victory now stands to be just the next battle for them. Probably the good thing is, like, New York is not the only state to try this social media crap. Like, Illinois tried it. I'm pretty sure California's tried it as well. And then, of course, they never got laws passed to this effect. But like, they wanted in order to get your gun, you have to give us your social media accounts, because maybe you're a bad guy. And I think it might have been a guy from New York. But whenever New York was trying to pass as a standalone law, it turned out that politician who co-sponsored the bill, people went and found his old personal Twitter account, and he had a tendency to anytime he got into an argument with somebody, he'd just tell them to kill themselves. So it was very funny, because this guy multiple times was telling people to like end their own lives. And he wants to know your social media history. Like, okay, psycho.
He's posted. My man posted.
out here on a social media account with his own name on it is powerful.
Yeah, posting big.
But of course,
so that's funny.
It's just ridiculous. But like I was saying, that the good thing here, the silver lining is, we know the Supreme Court's going to be reviewing all of this nonsense. And now they're going to be able to review, the carry nonsense, plus the question of good moral character, plus the question of, can the government ask for your social media accounts before you may exercise your little right? And the answer is going to be no.
Well, it'll depend on what questions are certified too. This is just like such a ridiculous, like, smattering of important legal questions.
Right.
And also, I do expect that the Supreme Court is probably actively pissed at New York because they're doing it on purpose.
Right. Like, the Supreme Court literally said, you can't do this. And then New York's like, okay, we're going to do it. And you know what? We're going to do it double.
Yeah. We're going to do it worse now.
I mean, and on balance, what they're doing now is actually worse than what was there before. Because they just replaced proper cause or whatever, showing cause with good moral character,
which is intensely suspect.
Right.
Intensely suspect. So this will be a good one to watch. Last up, boys, it's Patriot Patch Company. Drop is live. Let's check this out. What can you get on Patriot Patch Company right now? And remember, promotional code TWIG10, TWIG10 is going to give you a discount. It's the Poke Wars patch drop number 2. This is a reference to popular culture, I believe. This is I believe it is a Star War mixed with a Pokemon and hand grenade thing.
Hand grenade? That's a potion, son.
Oh.
He's not a Pokemoner.
Oh, I see. When I played Pokemon, the pixels were too large to actually know what anything looked like. So, like, I remember the potions, but it was like 8 pixels.
Right.
So, but yeah. Oh yeah, that's there. Hello, shall I heal team? Yeah, that's funny. Only 100 made of each. Guys, you can still grab it. Use promotional code TWIG10. Get the Pokemon patch drop. Sign up for the Patch of the Month Club. You'll get a nice little morale drop every month. And Patriot Patch Company is actually a pretty slick group of dudes. It's patriotpatch.co. They have been banned from most social media, so they must be doing something right. So check them out.
They're slick because if you ever see them in public, you can rub their faces, and they're very aerodynamic.
Yeah, very, very.
They like it when you do that.
They love that. That's their favorite. Yeah, yeah. But so yeah, patriotpatch.co, promotional code TWIG10. Thank you guys for sponsoring the show. And that is it for the moment, unless you're gonna. I think
so here's our Illinois update. There's an update. I mean, there's like a couple amicus briefs were filed. I guess like one little funny note is the state had to go paragraph by paragraph for the the asks for injunctions in all 4 cases and say whether or not they agreed with the paragraphs. They had to answer each paragraph, and it was very funny because like sometimes it was like there was a claim that it's like there's 25 million AR-15s in America, and they're like, we disagree.
All right.
Do you have a countervailing source? Because it's probably a higher number than that, really.
No.
And so it's very funny because the state's of course going to cross their arms and stomp their feet and go, no, we don't have a no. We disagree. They disagreed that the key holding in Heller was that people have a right to own common arms or handguns or whatever, and it's like I don't think you should disagree in a court. Like you can disagree privately, but in front of a judge, it's probably not smart. We think the Supreme Court is wrong.
It's funny that if you're the government's lawyers, you can just like say whatever.
And so yeah, that's the there's no action on the state cases, except I guess the state police did say that as far as they're concerned, the law being ruled unconstitutional doesn't mean that they can't enforce it. Insane. And so the state cases, as far as everybody seems concerned, is the ban's staking around for now until the state Supreme Court absolutely craps on these state cases, because that's what they're there to do. Right. And then with the federal cases, on the 23rd of this month, the plaintiffs, so the good guys, are going to be replying to the state's previous replies, and the state's previous replies were riddled with errors, and so I'm sure they'll poke holes in those. And then we'll have a hearing early in April. I think it might be April 2nd. And then after that hearing, the judge could drop their answer to the injunctions at any time. So here in early April is probably the timeline for injunctions to drop. And so that's good and very exciting. And then on the question of the amicus briefs, the anti-gun ones were hilarious, right? It's all of the same, like, 223 is so much more powerful than 9mm. And so this law doesn't ban 223, and then it still bans lots of guns in 9mm. Yeah. So it's like it's like obviously they're copy pasting their amicus briefs from all over, but like, geez, guys, come on, you're the thing you're advocating for isn't what the law does.
I was paid to show up.
And I don't think we mentioned last time the Illinois State's Sheriff's Association, which represents like, I think it represents all but like 2 or 3 counties sheriffs, as well as a bunch of people who are like sheriff's advocates, who ordinarily I'd just like call cop simps or whatever. But they did do a one respectable this time, where, you know, they said that like, we think this law is unconstitutional. We think this law is bad. We think the only thing this law can do is cause conflict between the police and good people, and that they don't really want that. And so I thought the way they worded it was pretty good, and that, you know, it's cool to see like this organization that represents, you know, essentially all of the sheriffs for the counties and the state come together and say like, yeah, we think this law should be stopped in its tracks. It's kind of exciting.
Oh, that's pretty big. Awesome. Well, everybody, thank you so much for coming. And as always, we will see you next time.
Bye.